the 4 children of Colin Stonetooth, the visionary first chieftain of the Hylar, who initially brought the Mountain Thanes together, only one had remained in Thorbarden after the Wizards' War. Cale Greeneye was gone, preferring the Nidar life outside to the Holgar life within the fortress. His brother Handel had long since died and was buried beneath the rubble of the ancient city of the Kalnar in the far-off Kalkist range, while the second son, Tolan Farsight, had remained there as leader of the Kalnar. Only the old chieftain's daughter, Tara Sharn, lived out her life in Thorbarden as wife of Willin Ironmaul. Their only child, Daemon, married a Nidar girl soon after the Wizards' War. Daemon's first son, Dalam Fireblend, became chief warden of Tharkas, far to the north of Thorbarden. Dalam's younger brother, Cort, succeeded Willin Ironmaul as chieftain of the Hylar, then passed the role to his own son, Harl Thrustwaite. Harl Thrustwaite became known in Thorbarden as the Iron Fist. It was his stubborn intervention, backed by grim companies of armed Hylar streaming out of Hybarden, that finally put an end to the anarchy of the Thywar battles and once again restored a semblance of order to the Undermountain realm. With angry efficiency, Harl Thrustwaite re-established the Council of Thanes and the Halls of Justice. Beyond Thorbarden, among humans and elves, this Dwarven leader, whom none outside of Thorbarden had ever seen, was known as Hal Thwaite. Many humans and others in surrounding lands came to believe, from comments passed by traders, that Thorbarden was a kingdom and Hal Thwaite was the name of the king of the dwarves. Even among the outside-dwelling Nidar, scattered throughout the protectorate of Calthax, there were many dwarves who accepted that Thorbarden now had a king. Those who knew otherwise made no effort to correct the human and elven traders who referred to King Halfthwaite. The humans and the elves were outsiders, and as far as the dwarves were concerned, outsiders could believe anything they wanted about Thorbarden. It was none of their business anyway. The Hylar peace in Thorbarden and the mountain realm it protected, enforced by Harl Thrustwaite, lasted more than 100 years, which was 40 years longer than the reign of Harl Thrustwaite as chieftain of the Hylar and senior member of the Council of Thanes. In the Year of Iron, of the Decade of Willow, Century of Rain, the great chieftain and 7 of the 10 members of his elite guard were crushed in a rockfall near the entrance to the city of Thrybarden. A Daiwar leader, Jaren Redleather, and a Hylar soldier, Dunbarth Ironthumb, took over the coordination of events in Thorbarden following Harl Thrustwaite's death. Through sheer determination, the two of them kept the Council of Thanes going and maintained a troubled peace in Thorbarden. Unfortunately, Harl Thrustwaite's only child, a grown son named Durkan Winterseed, disappeared on an expedition to Tharkas Pass. The iron shackles they had placed on his ankles, hammered into place and secured with hot rivets in the manner of bonds intended never to be removed, had been an agony to him for a long time. First, there had been the deep burns from the riveting. Then, the open, bleeding sores caused by the constant rubbing of the rough iron against his skin. But what had lasted longest were the aches in his back and his legs, from hobbling around each long day, dragging the loose, 8-foot length of heavy chain which connected the shackles, that and the deep patient anger within him. He had borne the pains in stubborn silence, just as he bore the welts on his back from the overseer's whips, and eventually the wounds had healed over and the pains had subsided. Now his ankles were toughened by bands of heavy callus that had formed over the scars there, and his legs and back had grown accustomed to the awkward weight of the chain clanking behind him as he labored up and down the dim reaches of rough-delved mine shafts, his hod filled with raw ore from the digs below, or with tools and torches on each return trip. Most knew him by his deep anger and stubborn silence. Neither the slave masters in these mines nor the other slaves knew more about him than that he was a sturdy, level-eyed young dwarf with a dark, back-swept beard, that his name was Durkan, and that he would make trouble if he could. 3 times in 2 years, his back had been striped until it bled, twice for trying to escape from his bondage, and once, the most recent time, after one of the human guards fell to his death in a refuse pit near the mine's entrance. He had not been the only one whipped that time. The human slavers had whipped every slave within sound of the refuse pit, just on general principle. There was the suspicion that the dead man's fall might not have been an accident, and the slave masters knew that a smartly applied whip sometimes loosens tongues, but they had learned nothing. Most of the slaves were dwarves and bore their punishment stoically. The few human slaves in the area had nothing to tell their tormentors because none of them had been nearby when the fall occurred. Like the other doors.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.